Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Cristiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to the Total Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, and I am a life and business coach working with gay men and women to help them find fulfillment and freedom in their life and business. So in this week's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about how everything in life is a choice and how all of the choices in our life have led us up to the place that we are right now. And if we're wanting to get a different result in life, we need to start looking at the choices we are making. So what do I mean by everything in life is a choice? So basically what that means to me is that in life, there are going to be situations that happen, right? And not all of these are going to be in our control. But what we can control from those situations is how we choose to respond or react, right? So we could say there was a situation where, let's just say I'm having a disagreement with my boyfriend, right? And he's upset with me about something, right? And it really has nothing to do with me, right? Well, I could choose to get angry and upset at him and, feed into the fight that we have, or I could choose to come from a place of love and learning, right? And see really what it is that is causing him to be triggered, and then help him to see if we can move past that situation, right? You can look at this in every kind of situation that you're in, right? So if you're in your business, right, you could see that, almost everything in life has the meaning that we give it, right? So if we choose to say that we're not getting new clients because we're not good enough, then we're going to continue to feed the narrative of we're not good enough, right? But if we actually were to dig a little bit deeper and make a choice to actively go, what is the part that's missing, and work towards achieving that, then we would be able to say that really it's not about us not being good enough. It's just about us needing to learn and grow or adapt something within our business so that we can further improve and grow in that area, which will mean that we can further improve and grow our business, right? So as you see there, we can't necessarily control every situation that happens, but it's really about understanding how we can control all of the choices that we make from our responses that we want to have to any of those situations in life. So if you're, like I said, unhappy with something that's happening in your life, look at what are the choices that have led for you to be into that situation, right? Because every time you're in a situation that you're unhappy with, you have a choice to either live in that reality or step away from it and actually change something so that that reality is no longer yours, right? And when we're talking about reality, we're talking about life. I'm not trying to, use high guru words, but, our reality is basically our life, right? So what we have currently today is our reality. So making choices towards either staying in that reality or changing it is where we're at. So let's just say, like I said, you're in a job that you're unhappy with, which I was, I was happy in the sense of part of what I was doing, but I was unhappy with the sense that it wasn't really giving me fulfillment. I loved the people that I was working with, but I wasn't feeling like it was my mission, right? So I stayed in that job as a choice for over 5 years, right? And every time I got to a place where I was saying, I'm going to leave, I said, if they don't pay me, if they give me this pay rise, I'll stay. Or if they don't pay me this much, I'm going to leave. Either way I said it, what would happen is, I would always create the fact that they would give me that money and I would still not be happy or fulfilled. But for 5 years, I would use that as my excuse and my choice to stay in that job. But I was living unhappy and fulfilled, allowing that to happen by choice, even though maybe at that time I felt like I was a bit stuck. But there was a choice for me to make, and that was to change that situation. And it took me 5 years of being in a place where I wasn't fully fulfilled with my purpose and mission. Don't get me wrong, it was a good job, but I wasn't fulfilled with the mission that I was doing to help other people and get into a coaching career, which I wanted to do for well over 5 years. And so I was feeling unfulfilled, right? And I let that become my story. And that was a choice again to allow that to be my story, right? And the good thing about it is that, I worked hard to really uncover what it was that made me feel like I was stuck. And it was again, choices that I'd made to allow me to be in those positions where I was not feeling, good within myself. Again, I was drinking a lot. I was partying, as well. I was doing things that really weren't healthy for my body with food as well. And what would come from it is those bad habits allowed me to feel in a moment of stuckness, because again, I was doing, eat, drink, repeat. It's kind of thing, right? Every single day became the similar narrative that I would go to work, I would do my job, I'd feel unfulfilled and stressed. I'd come home, I'd start drinking. And then I'd feel like I was in a cycle and that I was stuck, right? And that I was in a problem. But it was choices that got me into those issues. And it was also choices that got me out of them, right? Because I had to choose to make a different choice in my life so that I could have a different result. And so, like I said, 5 years of me being unfulfilled, unhappy, filled with stress, anxiety, and utilizing, alcohol and drugs as a way for me to numb myself from those feelings of unfulfillment and unworthiness. And what it was that got me to make a shift there was another choice, right? I got to a place where, like I said, I was in that so much pain that the fear of, failure in maybe starting my own business was not as much as the pain of where I was currently in with the suffering. So I made a choice to actively put myself into a better position and actually work on creating the business that I have now, where I, like I said, work with gay men and women to help them find fulfillment and freedom in their life. Because you know what? 18 months ago to 5-10 years ago, I didn't have that fulfillment, right? I didn't have that freedom. I felt stuck and I felt unfulfilled. So being able to help other people in that way make better choices in their life is something that is really passionate to me, because again, like I said, when you've come from that place yourself and you feel like you're stuck and that you don't have the choices around you to make where you can actually improve your situation, you then start to, like I said, feel like, okay, now that I know what I know, how can I help other people realize that it's all about making better choices in our life? Like I said, if you want a better result, make a better choice. But know that, instead of feeling afraid to make the choice, which a lot of us do because we're afraid of failing or a failure of rejection, we can always change our choices, right? So if we do one thing and it doesn't work, we get the opportunity to do another thing and another thing and another thing until we get the result that we want, right? So there's never just going to be one way to get the result that you want, right? But there is multiple amounts of choices that will get you there depending on the path that you choose to take. Again, all of these things are choices that you get to make, right? So again, if you're in a position, maybe it's in life with your job, where you're feeling unfulfilled, where you're feeling kind of stuck and you're looking for some freedom, what choices have you made that have led you to that place? And what choices can you make that can help you to get yourself to the place that you really want to be, which again is fulfillment. And, fulfillment can come from many different things, because we know that fulfillment is all about really turning your dreams into your reality, right? So when we talk about living the choices for our reality, the choice is to turn your goal, your dream into a goal and work towards putting that goal into your life so that you then create that thing for yourself, right? But again, all of those things come down to choosing that. And again, are you ready? That's a choice. You can choose to be ready, or you can choose to suffer. Now, I choose to suffer for over 5 years in a job where, like I said, it was comfortable for me, but the longer I did it, the more unfulfilled I got, the more stuck I got. I allowed that. I chose that. But in the moment, I didn't feel like I was making a choice. I felt stuck. And now, if you know what you know now, can you make a choice that's going to be better for you, that's going to take you to the place you want to be with your career, or create a business, or is it something to do with a relationship, right? A lot of us feel like we're very lonely in life. I felt lonely for a very long time, right? And I allowed myself to feed myself into that loneliness, but also wasn't doing anything actively to work on myself or to look for a partner, right? So I would sit there being lonely, thinking that that was how I could feel, and but again, it was a choice that I was making because I wasn't actively doing anything to change that situation. So again, if you're at home and you're feeling lonely and you're feeling sad or depressed or anxious, know that you're not the only person out there that feels that way. There are other people out there, right? But what can you do? What choice can you make that's going to help you come from that place of loneliness, that place of sadness, that place of depression, to actually go, what's the step I can take now that I can work on myself? How can I put myself out there? How can I find someone who is right for me? And, again, there's multiple ways you can do that. There's not just one way. So it's about starting to ask yourself some questions about, instead of going, why am I lonely? Go, what can I do to change this? If you want a better result or a better answer, make a better choice or ask a better question of yourself, and you'll start to see that you'll be led in a direction that's going to move you forward instead of making you feel stuck, right? So if you want to stay stuck, again, knowing that we know now that it is a choice, what is it that it's going to give you to be stuck? How many more years of your life is it that you might waste feeling stuck? Like I said, for me, it was over 5 years. If I'm being honest, probably 10 to 15 years since when I came out, right? I really wanted to get into coaching and to find love and all those things. And it took me that many years to put in the effort to really say, what choice can I make that's going to move me to a better place, right? I'm talking about moving, right? I moved here to Bali in the middle of a pandemic, right? Lots of people would say that's a bit of a crazy choice, right? But I also knew that it was a choice that I needed to make, right? Because I wanted to get away from the Sydney life, the city life. I wanted to have a different lifestyle. And, I've been to Bali many, many times. I love the people here. I love the weather here. I love the culture. I love the vibe. I love all of the food here. And it's just a place where I feel like I can be more connected to myself spiritually. And I also feel like it's a place where I can grow my business as well, because it's very much an area where there's a lot of digital nomads, a lot of people doing what I'm doing. So I can actually connect more to people who are in my space, right? So, if you don't like your vibe, you've got to change your vibe, and then that vibe can help you to change your tribe, right? But again, it was a choice I had to make, and I had to go through, a lot of different things to get me to that place, because, if you'd said to myself 6 months prior or a year prior, when we were really at the beginning of the pandemic, could I move overseas? I would have felt like, oh my God, that's a crazy thing to do. It's scary, it's fearful. But as the time went on, I got to a place where I said, you know what? I think I need to start living my life instead of hiding away here. And I took active choices each and every day to really improve my life, right? So, I went through my year of sobriety there and actively made an effort to get off the alcohol, right? That was a choice, and it was also a choice for me to be, a drunken mess prior to that. So I've made choices in my life that have been good and bad, right? And I've had to live with the consequences, but I also know that from those consequences allows me to make a different choice, which has led me to a different place, right? So, like I said, giving up alcohol, working on my fitness, moving overseas, starting my coaching business, leaving my corporate job, finding a relationship that's happy for me, also changing relationships with friendships, moving to a new place and creating a better circle of people around me so that I can be in a better place, These were all choices that I made, right? And I live by them and stand by them. And some of them, were harder to make than others. But again, it all came down to me being willing enough to say I wasn't happy with where my life was. I wasn't feeling fulfilled with where my life was. I wasn't feeling free in my life. I was feeling stuck. I was feeling unfulfilled, and I was feeling unhappy. And I had lots of stress, right? Well, who wants to live a stressful, unhappy, unfulfilling stuck life, I certainly didn't, but I was doing it for so many years, again, by choice. Now, once I was able to, again, get the awareness that I make the choices of my life, and I can choose to be unhappy, and I can choose to be in a moment of despair, or I can choose to be fulfilled, and I can choose to find happiness, I can choose to find peace, I can choose to find love, and I can choose to react in a way that is more of a response than a reaction to someone else. Because if someone gets upset and triggered by something that I said, that doesn't mean I need to get triggered back by what they're doing. I can allow them to be triggered, but also help them through it, right? Because I understand that, not everything's about me. So when someone is going off the handle at me for whatever reason, I know that, like I said, most often than not, that's not about me. So again, how we choose to respond to people is, again, a choice. And again, we have to look at how we come across and look at how they're coming across and going, do I want to come across in this way? Again, it's harder to do than just saying the words, and it's taken me some time I'm not always perfect with it, right? Sometimes some people are going to trigger me with things that are happening in my past, but then I have the awareness to go, hey, that's a trigger of mine. What can I choose today? What question can I ask myself that's going to help me uncover why that's triggering me? And what can I do to actually and actively change that around in my life so I can make a better choice moving forward? I can heal from whatever it is that was holding me back, that was the trigger, and allow myself to continue on in my day in a happier state than I was in that moment. So again, all I want to say to you guys is, what choices have led you to where you are right now? Good, bad, ugly. What choices have you made today that are allowing you to be in the position that you're in, good, bad, or ugly? And what choices will you now make from those understandings so you can be putting yourself into a better position, right? I chose to invest in myself. I chose to do lots of personal development courses. I chose to get a coach. I chose to start my own business. I chose to give up drinking for a year. I chose to work on my fitness. I chose to work on my mindset. I chose all of those things, right? I chose to move to Bali. And I'm choosing to be happy, but not every day I do that very, very perfectly. And I own that. And again, a choice of mine is to work on that constantly, because I don't want to be unhappy. I want to be happy, and I want to be fulfilled, and I want to share my mission with so many people out there. That's why I do this podcast. Again, this was a choice for me to make this podcast and share this with you today. So I hope that it's been valuable to you guys. I leave you with those questions. What are you choosing? What choices can you change? And where do you want to be in your life? I thank you for listening to the Total Boss podcast. I am your host, Christiana Green. I'd love to hear any comments or questions that you have. Feel free to comment below or reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Christiana Green. All right, guys, always remember, you've got this and I've got you.